Check us out at www.angrymarks.com. I am joined by my compadres, Zane Paisley. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I'm looking forward to this evening, this show, and I'm going to have a good time tonight.
And also the champ is in the house. What are you now, Will? You're NWA Continental Champion now?
That's right, man. The NWA Continental Champion, man.
That's no laughing matter, man. That's a good title.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about it last week, man. The title and the previous title holders and the legacy and the prestige and stuff, you know. And then, you know, when you do your research about the NWA Continental title and stuff, man, you'd be surprised the quality of guys that's held this title and stuff. It's all the way back to Barbarian and Bam Bam Bigelow, et cetera, et cetera.
Outstanding. Well, in hour number 2, we're going to be joined by Michigan's own James Rampage. But up in hour number 1, he's America's worst nightmare. He is Boris Zhukov. Mr. Zhukov, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very good this evening. I hope it finds you doing well also.
We're doing very well. You know, the thing that always surprises, I think, most people when they actually get to talk to you, Mr. Zhukov, is you actually have a Southern accent, not a Russian accent.
Yeah. I only have the Russian accent when I want to do it, you know.
That's right. You know, we were just talking about Will's NWA championship. I guess, what are your memories of the old NWA and the territory system? Because you were actually coming up when they were somewhat still living.
Yeah. In fact, when I started, it was over like 28 territories when I started back in 78. That was wrestling's best time because today, I'm sorry, people have nowhere to work. You got, it's basically WWE. If you can't get in there, there's nowhere to go to make a regular paycheck, week after week, every month, all year long, you know, so, yeah. Because, back then it was all based on local TV, throughout the different areas and stuff and everything. And you could move around. You could go from one territory. You could be in one territory for 3 years and go somewhere else, and nobody had a clue who he was because they'd never seen you. Because all the TV was local. They didn't have, you know, unless you might have got on the USA Network back then or WTBS in Atlanta. Nobody ever saw you.
But Boris, how'd you get started in this crazy business in the first place?
Where?
So how'd you get started in this business?
I had a friend that introduced me to a guy that was doing some independents here locally, a young guy named Rick McCord, and he hooked me up with independents here in Roanoke, Virginia, and I got started back in May of 78, about a little less than a year after I graduated high school in 77. So I started wrestling around here locally, here in Virginia, and about a year later, I went down and Ole Anderson gave me a chance on WTBS in Atlanta. So it just went from there. So
a lot of people who aren't familiar with your early parts of your career don't realize that you were actually part of Sergeant Slaughter's Corps. You were Private Jim Nelson.
Yeah, Private Jim Nelson. Yeah, I was basically just regular Jim Nelson up to point Sergeant Slaughter came into Charlotte, and then did the Private Nelson thing start, I guess, around the latter part of 81, going into 82 and 83, and teamed up with Don Knodel and all that. So, yeah, that was a great experience because I got to work with all the top guys in the territory almost every night. So, you know, and that made all the difference in the world in my, getting experience and everything.
Well, we'll talk about your AWA days here in a little bit, but I guess what was it like for you transitioning from a good old American into a hated Russian?
I'd learned to be hated as Private Nelson with Slaughter, but it was really easy because, you know, it was something I wanted to do, and I'd spend a lot of time around Ivan Koloff and guys like Alexis Smirnoff, you know, and Baron von Raschke, and I just had some great teachers and stuff that taught me how to work heel and stuff. And of course, back at that time, people just took wrestling a lot more serious back then. You know, you really had to be careful where you went and who you associated with. I mean, today it's a joke. I mean, you can't buy heat today if you wanted it. And back then you had to worry about somebody coming behind you and sticking a knife in you, and and everything else. So, shoot, back in the time when, Russia shot that plane down and stuff, shoot, man, you had to be careful where you went because people wanted to shoot us and everything else. So it was totally different back then. So the heat level and everything, shoot, they'd throw ice at us, and you had to worry about people cutting your tires and, on your vehicles, and shoot, nobody has to worry about that today because everybody just looks at it and laughs. And that's what's dead. And it's never going to go back to that because, once they let the cat out of the bag and once the people realized there wasn't a real Santa Claus, that was it. It died. And it's never coming back. That's the sad part. So, yeah, because I remember being in Dothan, Alabama, and shoot, the police would have to get all around us and escort us to the dressing room to keep people from trying to come after us and trying to prevent the riots and stuff. So that was a total different day back then. And to me, it was easy. To me,
we're talking to none other than Boris Zhukov. I'm going to kick it over to the White Russian, Zane Paisley.
Well, Mr. Zhukov, I want you to finish what your thought was then on way it was back then and way it is today.
What way it is today is there's no heat, no heels. Nobody hates anybody on TV. There's not a heel on TV today that's hated by anybody. And shoot, back then, goodness sakes, man, it get downright scary in places and stuff. You had to be careful where you parked your car, and like I said, when we had the Russian thing, I didn't associate with anybody. When I teamed up with Nikolai Volkov or Soldat Ustinov and stuff, we just didn't associate with people. And of course, that was the best thing to do back then too, because when you were on TV and stuff, you couldn't go out and just be a regular person with people because you were looked at different and stuff. And once the mystique was gone, once they realized you was just as regular as they were, you wasn't special no more. We'd go straight to the building. We'd go straight inside. We wouldn't sign autographs. We'd tell people to buzz off, go in the building. And the only time they'd see us is when we went to the ring. When it was time to leave, we'd go straight to our cars and get out of town and go. And today everybody wants to sit around and go out and mingle in the crowd, and you're not special when you do that. You don't see rock and roll bands do that. When you go to see a rock and roll band, they hit the stage, they do their gig, and they're gone. And that's the only time you see them is when they go out there and play, and that's how we did wrestling back then. But when you were a heel, you had to do that because you never know if somebody was gunning for you. So it could be very dangerous. You had to watch out when you went in the parking lot. You went straight to your car, got in your car, started up, and you got out of there. And a lot of times police would have to escort heels to the car so they didn't have to worry about something like that happening. And it's not like that today.
Well, you have a very distinct look. Especially back in those days with the bald head and the big beard. You said go straight to your car and get to the next gig, but yeah. What about when you had to go to a gas station to fill up the tank or stop and get food? Did you?
You pull in and just put gas in it and get back in your car and go. If you went in, you just didn't look at people. You didn't talk to people. You just, because, like I said, you get seen on TV and stuff and everything. You go out in public, you just couldn't associate with people and you really didn't want to because you wanted people to pay to come see you. And today it's not like that now. Everything's done on TV. Everybody sees everything on TV. And, back then you wanted people to watch TV, to come see you at the house show. But you didn't want to give them any more than what they paid to see. So you'd go take care of your business. If you went in a restaurant, you went in and ate, minded your business, and paid your bill, and you'd walk out and leave. So it was a total different thing back then. But being a heel, you had to do that because it wasn't safe to act in the other way because you never knew if somebody might try to cut you, or stab you, or shoot you, because it was seriously believed back then. Especially when you did some serious angle, left somebody laying in the parking lot, or you did something on TV and left somebody over or something. And blood was a lot different back then. Everybody believed it back then, so you really had to watch yourself.
So you're not a fan of, let's say, Rusev and Lana posting pictures of their vacation in Hawaii,
No. Why do that? It don't mean what's it mean?
So have you been able? I wanted to get your thoughts on the current Russian Lana and her Bulgarian brute Rusev. What do you think about all that going on? I think that they're actually getting some legit heat by bringing up Vladimir Putin, and obviously it's a retread on things that have already been done. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, if they do it serious, if you leave somebody laying and you want to, but if you make a cartoon out of it, which they'll probably eventually do, it's not going to mean anything. And if he went out there and cleaned up the place and left everybody laying, and I could beat every one of the Americans with both my hands tied behind my back. And because the whole thing is you want to milk the people to where they want to see you get beat. If you just turn around and beat the guy the next week, or you build something up, and then as soon as you beat him, that's it. There's nothing left. And they just do things totally different now. See, back then, you'd run a program with somebody. You might run a program with somebody for 6 months, and you milked it, and made people. But the whole thing was to do stuff on no more on TV than you had to do to get people to come to the house shows. And it's a total opposite thing now. They give everybody everything on TV now. Back then, we didn't do stuff like that. If you wanted to see a cage match, you had to come to a house show and pay to see it. We didn't give them cage matches on TV. We just didn't do that. You give them a little tease. That's all TV was a tease to get them to come to the house show, because that's where the guys made their bread and butter, was in the arenas. And it's because we didn't have contracts back then. If you didn't wrestle that night, you didn't get paid.
Oh.
If you got hurt, you didn't get paid. They might help pay your, if you got hurt, injured or something, they might help pay that. But unless you got in the ring, whatever the nights the week was, if you got in the ring 7 nights a week, you got a good paycheck. If you ended up getting hurt halfway through the week and had to sit home because you twisted an ankle and couldn't work, you didn't get paid.
We are the Undisputed Wrestling Show. We're talking to former Bolshevik Boris Zhukov, and we're going to kick it on over to the Morning Star, Will Huckabee, to get the wrestler's perspective.
Yeah, Mr. Zhukov, how you doing tonight?
Good, sir. Good, very good.
All right. I was going to ask you, I wanted to, kind of ask another question about a statement you just made. You were saying, back then the purpose of TV was to get guys to come to a house show. You only got paid if you worked. What is your feelings about guys about the contract situation now, with guys getting contracts and stuff? Do you think that helps or hinders the business and the creativity?
Well, it's as far as security goes and getting paid and good, it's everything. But I don't think of much of the creativity and stuff and everything, because and shooting now, the house shows are so expensive for people to go to now. Anyway, it's ridiculous, and plus they give them so much on TV. Why go to the arenas and watch it? People can sit, and a lot of people now, like with the pay-per-view, people get together and put the money together to get pay-per-view in one spot. So that's kind of starting to hurt the pay-per-view and everything, So it's, like I say, it's totally different now, And back then it was like a 1 hour show, and you had your interviews and stuff like that, and you give some little matches, and you might give them a tease on TV with couple main event guys and stuff to get the angle going and all that, but you didn't give them any more than you had to, because you wanted them to come to the arenas. So, but now they throw everything at the kitchen sink at people now, So
no, you were saying
because they're trying to keep the ratings up, and they want to keep people watching it. And when you're doing a 2 hour show, you better give them something to watch, or you're going to be hurting rating wise, and that's. And I think that's what WWE's running into trouble as far as creativity goes. They can't keep an audience.
Now, you were saying earlier, that if guys got hurt, they couldn't work. And I wanted to ask you about, when you were in the AWA, about that really brutal chain match you had against Wahoo McDaniel. I actually had a chance to actually look it up and look at it and stuff. What's your thoughts about that chain match, man?
Well, like I said, we did matches back then. The whole thing was to be as tough and brutal on somebody as you could without killing them, because that's what people paid to see. In fact, when I went to wrestling, that's what I paid to see. I loved working with Wahoo a lot because I enjoyed watching him work with Johnny Valentine. Now, if you ever seen some matches like that, those two people hit each other so hard it'd make your skin crawl how hard they'd hit each other. And because it was just brutal. I'd sit at ringside and I would cringe. And so, when I had a chance to work with Wahoo and stuff, we did the same thing. You get your adrenaline's going so much, you feel it later on back in the dressing room and everything, but you had to make those chain matches, look believable or it'd be a joke if you didn't.
Now, I was going to ask that, is that just one of those matches? Like I said, I got to watch it, and of course, we're both in the business and stuff, so some matches you just got to suck it up and take it.
Right.
And was that one of those matches where you were just sitting there before the match and you just knew afterwards that you were going to really be hurt, and when you woke up in the morning, you was going to kind of regret having that match?
Yeah. You knew it was going to be hurting, but if the people enjoyed it and stuff and everything, and you could make it believable for them, and they was into it. That's what meant the most, because that's to me, getting those people up on their feet and stuff and giving them what they wanted, because that's how I felt when I used to go when I was a fan, go to matches and stuff. Give people their money's worth, because that's what it was all about. So for us and stuff, and you'd be hurting, because be a hard time getting out of the bed. Next morning, we have to get up early and go to the airport and get on a plane, So, and then go somewhere the next night and do it all over again. So.
This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. We're talking to Boris Zhukov. You pretty much got your name going in the AWA, tag teaming with Sold Out Ustinov, a relative unknown.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your times in the AWA. As Will was alluding to, you had some classic matches with some legendary wrestlers like Wahoo McDaniel. And what was it like for you in the AWA getting yourself going?
Okay.
A big territory that I wanted to go to and stuff, so, Sergeant Slaughter is the one that got me, booked up there, and went up there and started working with him back in, 85 and stuff, and then I got to, team up with, Chick Adnan LKC and Bruiser Brody and go against Jerry Blackwell and Nick Bockwinkel, and I got to work with, Rick Martel and all that stuff, so that was just, that was a big highlight to work with guys like that, because they were just so phenomenal, in the ring and had such a big reputation and stuff. There's a lot of great guys now, but man, I got to work with the Funks and the Briscoes and Harley Race and Wahoo McDaniel and Ricky Steamboat and I'm sorry, guys like that today, nobody can touch them guys. Them guys are just legends that'll never be replaced. And I had some of the greatest teachers and coaches that anybody could have asked for, and that's what helped so much back then, is getting in the ring with somebody who had twice as much experience as you did and stuff. And man, they could teach you so much. All you had to do was go in the ring with an open mind, and you could learn something new every night. And that's what it was all about, And the whole thing was to work that match for that crowd and give them their money's worth. And that was the bottom line for me. Because that's the way I felt when I was a fan too. So that's the way I looked at it when I got in the ring.
The cool thing is when you came up, you were still in a time when titles were more than just props. They actually meant something. And you and Sold Out were actually tag team champions of the world in the AWA. How tough was it for you to have to leave that and go to the WWF and leave that behind?
Well, the way I had to do it, I didn't like it, but I saw where Vince was going with it, because he was swallowing everybody up out of the territories, and I saw it happen back then. I saw the whole thing crashing down where they went, smaller territories were having to close up, and they were losing their TVs because he was taking over the whole TV thing and everything. But the money he was paying back then was so great, and having a family, that was the whole thing. If you went in that business and make money, you had no business being in it. If you're not making money doing something like that, being gone 30 days a month and working 7 nights a week and stuff, it wasn't worth your time. And that's the reason I left, was because I saw it going that way. And in fact, when I finished up in the WWF, there weren't hardly any territories left to go to. They were all gone. They'd all closed up shop. All the places that I'd been to were falling apart, and basically back then it was WCW and WWF, and it just went downhill from there.
When you did get to the WWF, and from my knowledge, it was people like Sherry Martel who helped you get into the WWF.
Oh yeah. Sherry Martel and Jack Lanza, who I'd worked with over there at the AWA, was an agent over there, and he helped me get over there too. So, and in fact, I went to when Ray Stevens was booking there in the AWA, I went and talked to Ray, and he said, "Well, you get an opportunity, Jim." He says, "You got to take it and run with it because you may not get another chance." And so when I was given the opportunity, that's where, and I'm glad I did too, because if I hadn't gone when I did, I probably would have never gone there.
How important was it for you to get hooked up with Nikolai Volkov?
Very, very much so. I mean, that was the only reason that Vince brought me over there, is because all the stuff that, with the, Sheik having to leave, and he wanted another tag team partner for Nikolai and stuff, and I'd had a lot of TV coverage there, with the, AWA. So, when he brought me over there and teamed up with Nikolai, that was, that was a highlight for me, and it was just an opportunity or a chance I had to take, because that's just the way it was back then. If somebody offered you an opportunity to go do something like that, and I'm sure glad I did, because like I said, if I hadn't gone when I did, I probably would have never gone. There was a lot of guys just as good as I was, if not better, that never got the opportunity to go.
I guess what I was getting to more so was, obviously you had to take that. I mean, that was a big deal. But I mean, getting paired with somebody like Nikolai, what did you end up learning from him, and how did he help you, adjust to the WWF and the business of New York?
Oh, just great, because he was so established there. He'd been there a long time. He worked with Bruno, and he had him and Sheik had tremendous heat and stuff. So shoot, when I went over and tagged up with him with the Russian thing and stuff, it was just great natural heat and stuff. It was unbelievable. So yeah. So that's.
Before I kick it back over to Zane, I want to ask you another question in regards to the breaking of the business, I guess. And a lot of people allude to when Vince had to testify and basically said that wrestling was just a show. It came crumbling down to me when it really started hitting the newspapers in the 80s, when the Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan were in the car together and got busted for marijuana possession or whatever it was. That's when it came crumbling down, for me. I mean, that when you had two arch rivals that were going at it, in the arenas, tooth and nail like they were going, and then they were traveling together, and it just like you said, you don't get out there and get seen like that, and they were seen together in an automobile.
Yeah, and as big as they had gotten, and all the TV exposure and all that WWF was getting, that was the last thing that needed to happen, because that was just a no-no back then. Hills and babies didn't associate with each other. So, if you were stuck on the same plane and stuff, that was one thing, but you didn't get stuck in the same car or get seen together somewhere. So, yeah, that was just...
Especially when you had a program with each other, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's eventually where Vince wanted to take it, I mean, he wanted the heels to start, even when I was there, wanted us to be more friendlier with the people and stuff, and all that, like that and stuff, and that was something I never agreed with, because if you're gonna be nice and stuff to everybody, how are you gonna get somebody to hate you and be you? And to me, it was easier to get people to hate me than it was to like. So if you're gonna be a heel, So so when he started doing that stuff and wanting to go that route and stuff, and then get away from all the seriousness and this start going toward the sports entertainment, which he started doing early back then and stuff. So I think he was determined one way or the other he was going to expose it and do it his way. So, and that's
this is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. We're talking to none other than Boris Zhukov. I'm going to kick it back over to ZP.
Mr. Zhukov, once again, thanks so much for being on our show tonight. This has been great talking with you.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
No, I've heard rumors that part of the reason why you left WWF, and I'm not trying to expound these rumors. I'm just asking what your take on it is, that there was a backstage incident with Curt Hennig. Are there any truth to that, or is that just all overblown?
What now?
Was there any heat between you and Curt Hennig while you were in WWF?
No. We were all best friends and stuff and everything. Kurt was healed. I'll tell you, you know what happened to the same thing happened with the Bolsheviks and the whole Russian thing was when the wall come down and when Ronald Reagan told Gorbachev to tear that wall down. That's when we went. So I mean that's when Vince demolished that WrestleMania because that's when all that happened. When the wall come running down, there was no more Soviet Union. But like I said, back in them days and stuff, when you went into a territory, there was a time you went in and there was a time you was going to have to leave. And, we were finished there. And I wasn't going to do nothing else. I wasn't going to let him put me in another gimmick or nothing like that. And then, so we did all that there, when all that was, with Russia and the Soviet Union ended and, they turned me on Nikolai and, I just worked out a notice there and left, because that's the way I thought you should do it back then. So, and that's what I did, but no, there was never any heat between me and Kurt at all. So, because in fact, I loved working with him over there, but shoot, he turned heel over there in WWE and stuff and everything. We never got to work together, and I loved working with him over in the AWA. So,
okay. Thank you for dispelling that rumor. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. There was never any heat with me and Kurt. I thought the world of him. So, no.
Well, on our show, we all have our little specialties. Rick likes to get into the nuts and bolts of the business, and Will is a pro wrestler himself, so he's got a lot of the inside knowledge. I like to come up with some of the more absurd things. So when I was doing some research on you, you had a Remco AWA action figure?
Yeah, I got that with through the AWA. Sure did.
That is awesome, and it is so rare. Do you actually have one yourself to give to your grandkids, or are they?
Yeah. I have a couple of them. I got a couple of them back then when they were first put out and everything. So yeah, back in I guess I got that deal back in I believe it was sometime in '86. I believe it was. So yeah.
So you had one of the first wrestling action figures of yourself. That's awesome. I'm very jealous of you right now. Well,
yeah.
A lot of reason.
Yeah. When he'd got a couple back then, and I've held on to them ever since. So.
Well, and another thing, when you and Nikolai did that skit backstage with Steve Allen, I just posted a picture on Facebook of that. Was that one of those weird WrestleMania things where, you kind of hated it underneath everything, but you thought it was actually kind of cool too, where it wasn't strictly pro wrestling, it was more that entertainment element?
Yeah. Well, getting to be with somebody like that and everything, because I didn't agree with the entertainment part as much as Vince was doing, because I like to hear more heat type stuff, but it was neat to work with somebody that had a big name like that, because he was a pretty popular guy. So that was fun getting to do that with somebody like that for sure.
All right.
Let's kick it on over to the Morning Star, Will Huckabee. Will, what you got, buddy?
Yeah, I was going to actually ask Mr. Zhukov, how, do you still keep up or occasionally go to the local indie show?
Yeah. Well, I got a local indie show I go to here at home. In fact, I worked for them some up till the end of 2012 and stuff, and then I retired. I don't work anymore, so because it's right here at home. Shoot, the place we'd work at was only like 10 miles from my house, so that worked out pretty good for me. So because being a truck driver, I only get home on the weekends and always run the show on Saturday nights. So yeah. So it's fun. It's fun to do that. Get to talk to young guys and all that, So.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you ever get that itch to, train some guys or actually start your own promotion or even, work backstage as an agent, helping a lot of the younger guys develop their gimmick and being able to work and stuff?
Yeah. Well, I was already doing a lot of that before I got to that point there in 2012. Then things got rough with my job. I wasn't able to may not be able to make the shows and all that stuff and everything as much. So, but as far as working in the ring goes, I haven't worked in the ring since the end of 2012. So, but, yeah, getting to be around the young guys and showing some stuff and teach them and everything, and to me, the best thing for a lot of guys to do is watch the stuff from the old days, because those are guys that know how to work. A lot of guys now ain't got a clue how to work, because they have no clue what psychology is. They have no clue. You're not gonna give somebody a thing like Jake Roberts does, and the guy get up and make a comeback. That's a finish. And when you do something like that to me, you're stupid. You're dead. When I did that with Jake Roberts, I didn't move. He put the snake on me, and that was it. Or a pile driver, or you did a big old headbutt like with the British Bulldogs and stuff that Tom would do, come off that big flying headbutt or something like that, or Warrior give you that clothesline. That was it. 1, 2, 3, and boom, that was, it's over. So, and guys now just get it from stuff like it. That's why stuff don't mean nothing no more. It's, a lot of the matches end up being overkill. I said, my gosh, everybody's a Superman. Nobody can be beat. And, you can't tell a story like that. You don't see stuff on TV shows now like that. I mean, they still do simple stuff that you can relate to mentally that makes sense. And wrestling should be like that too. And it's not now. A lot of it's just scrambled eggs. So that's what's aggravating to me.
I was going to say, since you go to your local indie wrestling show, is there anybody that you feel that me, Rick, and Zane should actually watch and keep our eye on?
Yeah, well, there's a few guys I've seen here and there and stuff. Except one guy I didn't watch for a while. He's married, got a family now, and now he has no desire to run the roads or anything, and like I said, now it's so risky now. I mean, your chances of getting booked and making a regular paycheck in WWF, if I was trying to get in today, I wouldn't have a chance, because there's too many guys, and there's only so many spots available, and it wasn't like that. So back then, if you went somewhere and went happy where you was at, you could pick up the phone and you could pack up your stuff, throw it in a couple of little bags, and throw it in your car, and down the road you go. You go find another place to work. But it's not like that now. Like I said, when I started, there was like 28 territories to go work and make a living.
Well, Mr. Zhukov, it's possible. It's kind of possible now. I do a lot of traveling myself. I'm based here in North Carolina, and I travel, up and down the East Coast and occasionally to Texas. Right. So it's possible to make a somewhat living, but you just gotta have the drive to actually jump in the car and go.
Yeah. But it's territories. You didn't go from New York to Texas and stuff like that. Like here in the Carolinas, you had Carolina, you had Virginia, you had Tennessee, Georgia, Florida was all territory by itself. The Tampa territory, Pensacola, you had Dothan, Alabama, you had Birmingham, you had Pensacola, Florida. You had little runs like that. Yeah, you can't run across the country today and get a regular paycheck from a company. You don't have companies today that give out regular paychecks and that you get all year long. When I started out with Jim Crockett Promotions, I was here over 3 years. I made a good living here. I got a regular paycheck every week, because there are a lot of months I worked 7 days a week. That's what I'm talking about. And you can't do that now. That will never happen again, ever. If you can't get it with the WWE, forget it. You're not going to make a decent living in this business. You're just risking losing your butt, because you can't get enough bookings to keep your head above water, unless you got a real big name. But like I said, you could be flying all over the country, and you got to go do tours overseas and stuff like that, because there's not enough places to go work to make a living. Because you've got to find somebody who's going to pay you that money to make it. And if it's not worth their time, they're not going to book you to come in anyway.
This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. We are talking to former Bolshevik Boris Zhukov. Boris, how much did it aggravate you, or did it aggravate you, when Vince and other announcers made fun of your head, your cranium?
Man, I went through that when I was in school. When I was in elementary school and junior high school and stuff. I mean, in fact, when I played high school football, they always had trouble finding me a helmet I could wear. So, I ended up having the biggest helmet of anybody on the team and stuff and everything. So a lot of times they had to order me a helmet that would fit me because the regular helmets they had for the guys didn't fit them because basically in fact if I buy a hat now, like if I buy a cowboy hat, I got to buy a size 8.
Oh wow!
They won't fit. So I was used to that. But the great thing was I finally grew into my head and I made money doing it. So it didn't bother me. I would always laugh, when they did that. So.
When you left the WWF and you were saying the Bolshevik run came to an end because of the wall and, everybody could see those things, the communist angles and stuff like that starting to dissipate like that. But when you left WWF, you didn't show up anywhere else. Why is that? Why didn't you end up in WCW or what have you after your run?
I talked with them and stuff and everything, and there was just really nothing that they could have done with me. They didn't want to put me under a mask or nothing like that. I basically had so many callings for good back then. Shoot independent shows. They'd fly me in and pay all my expenses and pay me between $500 and $800 a shot. That's what I did for well over a year before I got into truck driving because like I said, by the time I left the WWF and stuff, if you couldn't get with WCW, all the other territories were falling on their face and closing up shop. There was nowhere to go. And that's what Vince wanted to do to the business. Because we was in a meeting back in, I guess it might have been 88, 89, and I saw what was going on then. And he told us in that meeting, he says, guys, you better save your money. He says, because when you leave here, there's not many places left to go. And he was right. As bad and upset as I got about him saying it, he was telling the truth. And he was right. There was nowhere to go to make a living because territories were, because he was buying up all the TVs because he was giving his show to these all these TVs for free. And the other places had to pay for theirs. But he was eating up all the TVs. Everybody was losing their TV time and everything, and because Vince was grabbing everything. So the territories were closing up shop, and there was nowhere to go to make a paycheck.
Boris, before we let you go, you managed to hit a nerve with me and hit my favorite rant, by the way, and that is the lack of ability to tell a story like they used to in the old days. The inability to cut compelling promos, the inability to tell stories in the ring. It's a spot fest anymore, and just like you said, there's no such thing as a finishing hold anymore. These guys kick out of everything.
Right. Yeah, and finally when they do some kind of finish, it's so flat it don't mean nothing.
Right. What's your remedy to fix pro wrestling today? Because there's a lot of people who are really, especially the old timers who watched, Dick the Bruiser and Bruno Sammartino and all these guys back in the old days. You know what? When they put you in their move, daggone it, you were done.
Oh, yeah.
How do you remedy something like that and get wrestling back to being wrestling again?
Terry Funk said it years ago. Because they've done everything. He says one day it's got to go back to wrestling. And until they do that, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, the old thing of getting in the ring and, like with the heel and babyface, and the babyface is out wrestling the heel, and, the heel, rakes the eyes and gets the heat, and babyface makes a comeback. But when he does a good strong finish, there's a 1, 2, 3, and that's it, So, it's got to get back to wrestling. They got to take all this other junk and go back to it. I mean, right back to the drawing board. Right back to day one is what they need to go back to because they've done everything. There's nothing left to do. So many people got upset when I don't know what the real deal was with Undertaker breaking that streak and everything, but he didn't have nothing left to do. If he'd have won last year, it'd just been another win. Everybody, until Warrior passed away, that's all they was talking about was Undertaker getting beat. There was nothing else left for him to do except do a job. Because he'd been on top for years and years. What else was you going to do with him? He'd done everything. He'd done beat everybody. It was time for him to get beat.
Well, definitely nobody wanted it anymore. So.
Yeah, and it finally meant something because if he'd have beat Brock Lesnar in the middle of the ring, done his tombstone on it and dropped 1, 2, 3, nobody had been talking about it. But when he got beat, boy, that Facebook and stuff went off the charts. So it was time for him to do a job. You got to get beat sometime.
So, Mr. Zhukov, how can everybody get with you? How can they follow you, keep up with you? What social medias are you currently working?
Just basically on Facebook mostly. And that's about all I'm messing with is Facebook.
Okay. Did you have a address or anything you want to hit up so your fans can keep up with you, or?
Well, yeah. I'm just under Boris Zhukov on Facebook there. So, pretty easy to find. So, they just look, they send me a friend request, to Boris Zhukov on Facebook.
I tell you what, you're always kind enough to respond when I, hit up posting things with you. And I appreciate you coming and joining us tonight. It's an honor to be able to talk to you.
Yeah, great being on here, and enjoyed all the questions and stuff and everything. But, if, I tell you, if guys want to get a hold of matches like with the Briscoes and the Funks and Ole and Gene Anderson and stuff, those guys are the special guys in this business. Harley Race, Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat. You'll never see guys like that again in this business because they worked in Flair and them, they were in the ring 300 some days a year in the ring. And guys don't get that experience now. And the only time you get a good experience is when you're in that ring. If you're not in that ring every night, forget it. You're not going to learn. You're not going to grow. You're not going to build anything. And those guys are special guys in this business. Mick Bockwinkel and people like that. Going back to Danny Hodge and just great wrestlers like that and stuff. I mean, those are the special people of this business. But I'll tell you, the best babyface I ever worked with in this business was Ricky Steamboat. Nobody had better psychology, and he'd always make the heel look good, and nobody could tell a story better than he could. He was the greatest ever in this babyface in this business.
He never turned heel either.
No, he probably could have been, but he was so over as a babyface it had probably been hard for him to have done it. But I mean, the psychology this guy had, guys like him and another guy from the Carolinas, Johnny Weaver too. Just fantastic psychology, telling the story in the ring. Unbelievable.
Well, we thank you again, Mr. Zhukov. Please be safe on the road, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again.
Thank you all. Y'all have a good night.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.